Well, I've got a layout update for you, and we're also going to test out some engines that had been in the shop for several months because of an overhaul of sorts. All that and more coming up right now on the main track. Well, hey guys, great to see you here from the main track studio and layout room. Now, before I get to that layout update, I want to tell you about a fun little road trip I took this weekend for Memorial Day. My travels north took me through Clinton, Missouri. Now, if you've been a part of the channel for a while, you know that Clinton is on the railroad that I'm modeling, the old Missouri, Kansas, Texas Sedalia subdivision. Now, when I was passing through town, I got lucky and found the Missouri and Northern Arkansas local coming into town. That's the railroad company that operates the old MKT in Missouri nowadays. So I decided to hop off the highway and grab some shots and stretch my legs a little bit. Now, this was pretty interesting because this is the very first time I've seen M&A's brand new Dash 9 locomotives, and these are most likely the first modern-ish wide cab units ever to make it up here to Clinton. Well, thing is, these former BNSF units, numbers 4417 and 4410, are about 25 years old now. It's just simply a big step into the future compared to the old, nearly 60-year-old SD40M-2s that M&A had normally been running on this route until now. All right, so now back to the 1980s here on the Missouri, Kansas, Texas Sedalia subdivision layout. Now, last time I showed you the bench work that I'd gotten up and had a small stretch of temporary track I'd laid down just to have a place to run my trains back and forth and whatnot during some of the construction. I kind of had an itch to get my locomotives out and start running some trains, although I've got a long time before I actually get the main layout done here. Well, I've gone ahead and installed some of the permanent track for this leg, and I've been working on the wiring the last few nights. Now, this here will be the town of Ladue. You may recall I'm modeling this town, which included a passing siding, a grain elevator with a spur, providing some business there for hoppers, and a junction with a branch line that led to the Kansas City Power and Light power plant. Now, of course, I'm still working on the overall track plan for the layout, but this stretch right here is going to be pretty simple. Well, the arrangement here is pretty basic, so I've gone ahead and started off here. Now, this here will be the spot for the grain elevator, and I have this Walthers kit ready to modify for that model, and I plan to work on that sometime in the coming days. Got plenty to keep me busy with that one. Now, I heard from a lot of you and your great ideas for the power plant. I'm having to use my modeler's license to get things to fit in the space that I have. I'll be keeping the spur tracks in a temporary status here until I get that final plan worked out. Well, no matter what I come up with, though, the main line will be running along this outer edge, so I've installed the tracks right there. Well, I also recently picked up a bunch of coal conveyors from Walthers that I'll be using on the power plant. Now, I'm a ways from building that actual facility, but I figured having this on hand would help out as I plan things and can grab some easy measurements so I know what I'm working with in the space here for the power plant. Well, KCP&L had its own engines it used here at the plant, and also some from Peabody Coal Company, which operated some nearby mines here in Henry County, Missouri. Now, again, I'm having to bend things just a little bit, and I'll be using these Katy painted switchers. I think they'll look pretty great right here. And while we're on the subject of those SW1200 switchers right there, you might recall I bought two of these units a few months back before I made the move to my new house with a new layout. These clips are from the original layout. Now, I did a review of sorts, and I mentioned how I really liked these units. The details from Walthers on these were nice, and they ran and sounded really great right out of the box. Now, after I got mine, I'd been noticing a lot of modelers posting online about the decoders on these frying and causing some other problems. So I went weeks with no issues and thought I was one of the lucky ones and got some perfect units, but eventually that luck ran out and my units, both of them, burned up, and there was actually smoke coming out from underneath the frame. Now, this seemed to be a pretty common problem with the decoders on this particular batch of engines, and I've heard a lot of explanations or guesses from guys about what went wrong with these, but pretty much everybody I know that purchased these units, at least the DCC versions, had them go out, and they've also had to send those back to Walthers or make their own repairs on those. Now, when those repairs were done, Walthers sent me a courtesy email letting me know they were back in the mail on the way to me. And so I waited and I waited and I waited and never got them. And so I called Walthers up to see what was going on, and come to find out there had been a mix-up in the system. Apparently, I had an old customer account from back when I was in college, and for perspective, I graduated 23 years ago, so it's been kind of a minute. Walthers did some investigating, and they found out they had actually sent those repaired engines to that old college. Now, it would have otherwise been pretty easy just to go back to the college and claim my package, even though it's been 23 years since I was a student there. But the thing is, the school I went to closed several years ago after it consolidated with another university in town. So it doesn't even exist anymore, and that campus is closed down and vacant for the most part. Well, I got a hold of Walthers and I explained the situation to them, and they immediately sent 2 brand new engines in the mail to me, to my correct address this time, and I got those in just a couple of days. So kind of an unfortunate mistake, but we got that fixed immediately, and I certainly appreciate Walthers staying on top of that and making it right for me. So it's kind of funny, now somewhere out there are 2 Katie SW1200 switchers floating around the postal system. So I can give you an update now on the repairs to those old units. Walthers told me they tested the new ones and they're good to go, and they provided a checklist for me of all the steps they performed to verify there were no longer any problems with these. Of course, I'm rebuilding the layout here and only have this short section of track that I can put these on, but it's plenty to get the job done. And I can report things running perfectly here. This here is engine number 3. It fires up and runs perfectly. Once again, runs very smoothly, and I love that sound coming from these engines. Very nice and realistic. So again, we're back to a wait-and-see situation. Obviously, my original units ran just fine, but after I ran those for several weeks, the problems came out. And so, it's so far so good here on the layout with those Walthers locomotives. I'll keep an eye on those and hoping they continue running for me on our great units for years to come. And so I plan to stay busy adding some additional bench work here on the layout, filling out the room here, but I'll also probably take some time to do some scenery on this little section, once again, just to keep those skills sharp and to scratch that itch I have of running some trains back and forth. And so with those projects, I've got plenty to keep me busy here, and I'll be sure to keep you posted as we make some progress here. Until next time, all aboard and all the best.